Welcome to another episode of Rebel Therapy Podcast. I'm your host, Katie.
I am your other host, Michelle. Welcome. We have another guest this week, one of my friends, Asa Berenzy, and I'm going to let her introduce herself. So, Osa, take it away.
Hey, my name's Osa, and I'm a musician in Toronto, and I play in a punk band called Kingdom of Birds.
An awesome punk band.
Yeah!
It is really great. Michelle flipped it to me in advance of this interview, and I listened to your whole most recent album, Vermin. That's the most recent one, right? Yeah.
Yep, totally. Yeah.
Oh, good. I love it.
Thank
I love
you.
it. Who
so
are
nice.
who are your influences? Can I ask that?
Yeah, totally. I love PJ Harvey. Early 90s kind of stuff like that. Pixies is great. Elastica, if you know those guys.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, like more
Okay.
of a 90s grunge kind of sound.
Oh, you're speaking our language, or mine anyway.
Yeah.
How about you, Michelle?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I was listening to the album again today, and I was just kind of struck by the mix of tones that you hit in terms of, kind of being earnest and then being kind of like playful or wry, and then also having kind of like an edge with maybe a bit of like frustration or anger. And you move between those quite quickly and seamlessly, which I appreciate and I find quite dynamic. So it's like compelling and kind of keeps me interested. And I am curious about that. Maybe we could start there, but how you kind of have developed that voice, because I was reading an article today about basically that your sound changed kind of after COVID. Like it was maybe more like maybe rock or folk. I don't know how you would describe it, indie, and then it kind of took on a different edge. So I don't know if you want to speak to any of that.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think a lot of it is just that I started the band when I was 13, so it's been like a really long process of discovering music as a kid too, and just the kinds of music that I was into listening to. And when I started the band, like, I was very heavily influenced by like Radiohead and more kind of, like alternative rock music. And then I think, as I got into high school, I got really more into like, like a 70s punk kind of sound. And just over like 10 years of writing music, I think it's like created this kind of mix and match collage of like all these different influences that have kind of, combined into how we sound now. But yeah, like I feel like it's just a combination of all the things that I've listened to for the past 10 years.
Yeah, and like an accumulation of yourself from the last 10 years. It's like kind of a time capsule in a way.
Yeah, totally. And I feel like, yeah, like I feel like I don't necessarily know where the different things in my songs come from, but if I stop and reflect on it, like I can, kind of pinpoint, oh, that's something I probably listened to when I was like 16 mixed with something I listen to now.
Yeah, it's
Very
an
cool.
amalgamation.
Hmm.
So Michelle already sort of brought it up, but I'm just curious, were you still in high school during COVID, or had you left high school by then?
I was in high school, yeah. It started when I was in grade 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
So does that mean you missed the last couple of years? Did you miss the whole prom, the sort of quintessential like high school teenage kind of things? Can I ask
Yeah.
how you think, this is sort of a huge question perhaps, I don't know, but how that time, given your experience of COVID at that time, how that has shaped your trajectory since?
Hmm. That's a great question. Yeah. Well, I think by the time that COVID happened, I was starting to feel pretty burnt out by high school. And in a way, it was kind of like a weird forced break to
Yep.
kind of just spend time by myself. I mean, obviously, it sucked, but there were aspects of it that I found personally kind of helpful to spend some time in isolation. Sorry, what was the second part of the question about like how it kind of influenced the music or?
Yeah, well, the music or like your personal experiences or like your personal story. I
Hmm.
don't know if Michelle has mentioned, but in my practice, I work a lot with teenagers and young adults. And so what I've found is that depending on what specific age somebody was when COVID happened, there are themes that groups tend to sort of share. And, I joke with sort of my contemporaries, it's like, I think I was 43 or something when COVID happened, right? And so if you miss a couple of years at 43 to 45, it's not that big a deal. I mean, it is, but not really, right? Like I'm not
Mhm.
developing in the same kind of way. as if you have to put the brakes on your life, when you're like 15 or 16 or 17. Like it's just a really different perspective. And so I'm really curious when I talk to kids, I don't mean kids like disrespectfully, but when I talk to
Yeah.
young adults now, how it has potentially really shifted their trajectory. Like we don't know what it would have been without it, but like for a lot of people, there's like a before and an after. And the after is really perhaps different than it may have been before. And I'm just curious sort of what your experiences around that might be.
Yeah, I think like it's something I haven't reflected on that much because I find that my memories from during COVID are not very solid. Like it's kind of something
Yep.
that almost feels like it didn't happen.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think like the only thing that really comes to mind, which is something that is maybe just occurring to me now, is I feel like the year right, like when I was 19, when things were starting to kind of open up again, like you'd still wear
Hmm.
masks and stuff, but it felt like this kind of desperate time of like trying to connect with people again and like
Yes.
I think I maybe attributed it to being 19 and not just being like a time of feeling like, oh, I'm free from high school now and I'm a young adult and there's all this exploration I want to do. But I feel like maybe grade 11 and 12, not spending time with my peers,
Hmm.
created this narrative in my head that I was a loner and that I wanted to get out of that, but it was like a forced upon me loneliness
Yeah.
and I guess that kind of changes the way that I think about like how I actually was. But yeah, like it felt really like it was a race to like meet so many people and like to finally like experience like a
Live.
relationship and stuff like that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah,
So what I'm hearing you say is that there was like almost like an urgency that happened.
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but like in my head it felt more like, oh, well, I'm not very popular in high school and that's why, but
Hmm.
thinking about it now, that doesn't really make sense because, like, I mean, I didn't really have a chance to, like, meet anyone in high school, so
No, exactly.
Yeah, that's an interesting, it's such a disruption. And it's funny that you say
Hmm.
like that you struggle to make memories during that time or have memories from those time. And I feel kind of
Hmm.
similar where it's just kind of like this blob of time. And I do wonder if like there is this element of like because everyone was like so disconnected, it was like we kind of stepped out of our lives and connection was so tenuous, especially because you couldn't be in person, right? So the sense of like how important connection is with people like in literally the real world to like how you form memories and how things become meaningful to you is like it has to be experienced. It can't just be like thought about or like maybe texted about or whatever, right? Like there
Mhm.
has to, and that sense of like you being kind of like thirsty and like desperate for like
Mm.
actual real life experience.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Yeah, it's something that I never really think about.
Which is fair because it's not like the most fun time, and like we've talked about this before, um,
Yep.
like that, and also like an age that you're at is kind of like not necessarily like for reflection all the time, right? Because it's like
Mhm.
you're trying to kind of like do all of these different things and like you said, make connection with like peers and kind of even just like still like shaping what you want for your life, right?
Mhm.
And so but I do find your lyrics like are somewhat reflective, and I was curious even about like that songwriting process. Like what spurs you on first? Like is it lyrics? Is it the music that comes first? Do they come together
Mm.
sometimes, or one or the other?
Yeah, it's usually the music that comes first, or at least like a starting verse chord progression. I find most of the time like the first couple lines of lyrics are like just something that kind of seemingly comes out of nowhere. Um, and then I kind of think, well, what does that mean? And then I try to create the rest of the song following that. Maybe kind of like subconscious things floating around in the brain. Just seems to fit the music kind of thing.
Like you said, that first thing comes out of nowhere, but then you actually like authentically follow what it might be saying or what it might mean.
Mhm. Yeah, and like, whether or not like it actually did have meaning, I feel like you can kind of come up with your own meaning as you go. Yeah.
I mean, that feels like the heart of songwriting in a way, is like making the meaning, like you're literally making the meaning for
Hmm.
yourself, and then like other people find the meaning in it
Yeah.
for themselves, right? That may not be your initial reason for creating
Well,
the song.
and I feel like I have to also mention, forgive me, that like that's one of the key tenets of the type of psychotherapy that Michelle and I both practice, Gestalt, is this idea that there is no sort of inherent meaning anywhere, that everybody is responsible for sort of creating their own meaning. So I think that in life or in music, I think that's true, actually. So it's interesting the parallels between the two, potentially.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that like goes for most art, like anything that is
Hmm.
kind of up for interpretation that like you find like touches you in some kind of way. Like I feel like oftentimes your own interpretation of like an artwork that really moves you is probably gonna be an interpretation that serves you better than like what the actual artist's intent was, you know?
Yeah, I even find sometimes like when I find out what the artist intent was, or even like the musician or whatever, I'm like, whoa, it was so different, you know?
Yeah,
And it
it can
kind of,
be a bit disappointing sometimes.
yeah, oh,
You're like,
totally. You think something's deeper than it was.
Yeah.
so can you, I'm just very curious about this, but can you sort of like share with us sort of what the live music scene is like? Like what's it like in 2026 to sort of break into the Toronto music scene? Is there a music scene? What's that like? Like is this like a stepping stone for you trying to go somewhere else? What's your
Mhm.
5-year plan? No, I'm kidding. That's not really what I'm asking, but but I'm just really curious since there have been so many changes over the last few years. I'm just really curious, as a lover of live music, what your experience of Toronto is these days.
Well, that is something that changed a lot after COVID as well, because there were a lot of more DIY spaces that shut down during COVID. And so I think like, there's definitely a big music scene in Toronto just because there's so many people. But I do think that like compared to how it was when I was like a kid and I started playing music like 10 years ago, the scene is like I would say less accessible than it used to be because now the venues that you can book shows at, like you have to pay a lot of money to like put down a deposit and there aren't really as many all ages spaces as well. It's like I think it's struggling and it's harder to make ends meet for musicians in Toronto in general. But like I mean, yeah, there's like a lot of bands that you can play with and there's a pretty strong community. I'd say that Toronto kind of has like a indie garage rock sound in general, the more local bands. But yeah, I mean, I'm at a point now where I'm trying to play outside of Toronto. And I've been doing Toronto for 10 years and we're really well established here and now it's time to like kind of cast a wider net.
Yeah, and I mean that goes along with, signing a record deal, your first record deal.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
well, thank
It's
you.
amazing. Can you
Yeah,
tell
Yeah,
us a little bit
really
about that?
exciting. Yeah, sure. Well, it's not signed yet, but we're in the process of signing it. And basically, it's going to be like the first time that there's somebody helping us to record an album, giving us some funds to make an album, helping us promote and everything. So it's like a really big step because prior to this, like it was all so, me like cold emailing people and
Yep.
organizing our own shows and whatever. So I'm very excited to have like a team of people who are gonna like help us get the music out there. And I feel like it is kind of like, to break out of the local scene, I feel like there is a bit of gatekeeping and you kind of do need somebody to like open it up for you.
people that already have those connections, that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Sounds like you've had to like cobble it together, right? Like, and like really slowly grind, right? To kind of like
Hmm.
make a space for yourself in Toronto.
Hmm.
Like I can imagine like being underage, that must be so difficult when there's very few places. So you have to like kind of figure out, be a little bit creative in that way. And then to like be able to have just played the Danforth Music Hall opening for the
Amazing.
congratulations, that was awesome.
Thank you. Yeah.
You were at that show, weren't you, Michelle?
So she did two shows. They had a Friday night show and a Saturday night show, and I went to the Saturday, and I was just so happy. You looked happy. You seemed like you were having fun with your bandmates. You sounded amazing. Everybody seemed really into it. It was just, I don't know. I felt like it was magic.
Yeah, it was so awesome. It felt like magic to me too, because it's been such a long slog of feeling stuck at a certain level, and it feels like finally living kind of the fantasy dream that I've had for so long.
I love that.
Sorry, Katie, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, so one of the things, two things that came up for me. One is that we have a variety of guests that we bring on to the podcast, and everybody is totally different, doing different things, creative things. But one of the things that seems to be coming up quite consistently is this necessity to be creative and spontaneous and like a willingness to just try stuff, right? Because what I think I'm hearing you say is that you figured it out as you went. Is that fair to say? Like when you were
Yeah,
promoting the band, figuring all that. I mean, the music is one thing, but then also the promotion is something completely different, right?
yeah, totally. Yeah.
So, I mean, how did you figure that out? Like, what was your sort of process? You have this band, you've got music, you love that, the connection there, obviously, but then how do you get in front of people? How did you find opportunities? Like, how did you sort of approach that process?
I think when I started when I was 13, in general, the Toronto community was very supportive.
Love
Like
that.
adults who are musicians were very supportive. And so it was a lot of learning from them. Like there's community festivals like Open Tuning. They
Hmm.
just have different bands play on porches around in a certain neighborhood. And they always have like they'll get Charles Spearin from Broken Social Scene will come and play a set or whatever. There's just
Yeah,
all these like I think that the Canadian musicians who are more established are pretty generous with their time, especially if you're a kid. I think they feel like, oh my gosh, like I'm so happy to see a younger generation doing this, and they kind of were very willing to impart some advice onto me.
fabulous.
So yeah, I mean, it really is just such a privilege to have grown up in Toronto and to have all
Hmm.
these other creative people around. And I think it was just asking other people, like, what should I be doing?
So, accessing the support that a very supportive community was offering, kind of, or at least being able to
Mhm.
avail yourself of, sort of the experiences, like a collective experience that people share.
Yeah, totally. I think in Toronto there's so many people making art. So it's pretty easy to
Hmm.
just ask around. Like most people are pretty friendly.
That's great to
But you had,
hear.
yeah, it is.
I was gonna, sorry, Katie, if you had another question, I'm happy to wait.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, okay. So to be honest, I might cut this part out. Like Michelle and I were sort of joking beforehand, and I want to be really careful. I don't want to like for you, Osa. I don't want to be like, okay, so can you please like speak for your entire generation and like tell the old
Mhm.
like that's not at all my intention. But that I work with teenagers, a lot young adults, and then sometimes I have to work with their parents. And I hear a lot of people who grew up in the 90s where it's like, well, life has always been hard. And it's like they don't get that it's not the 90s anymore and whatever was difficult for them in their 20s, it's a completely different perspective and a different scenario that you'd be Gen Z, I guess, right?
Mhm.
You guys are facing, like, from an economic perspective, from a political perspective, from a climate perspective, it's not the 90s anymore. And I feel like people in like my and Michelle's generation, some people don't get that. And I'm just really curious from your perspective, does it seem like especially hard? Does it seem like this is just life? So it's always been like this, like you just have to deal with it? Or like I'm really curious. From my vantage point, it looks impossible, frankly. And so I'm really
Mhm.
curious, like what your experience is, because you're doing these amazing things and just getting on with it, I guess. There's a question in there
Mhm.
somewhere, but does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, it's hard for me to say like if it's harder than it used to be. Like it feels like yeah, probably there are things that are more challenging. Just like being able to support yourself and your
Yeah.
own apartment and stuff like that. I think like I was just kind of generally aware of the reality of how it's financially hard to be an artist, like since I was a kid, so I'm
Always.
very like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm very happy to not live like a lifestyle that requires very, very much. So I think I just kind of came to terms with that. It doesn't press on me too much. I can say more specifically to music and how music is
Hmm.
now. I do think that we're in a really bad time for music because there isn't really very much money in the music industry anymore,
No.
so record labels can't take a chance on a new band by giving them money, and that used to be a big thing, and that's how cool musicians would
Yep.
kind of make like a new album that's out of the norm.
Yep.
So I feel like so much like the money is really just behind sure things, and we're kind of
Yes.
stuck in this like it feels like kind of like a cultural desert of just like monotony. It's all kind of the same.
Monotony and monopoly, I imagine. Right?
Yeah. So it's just
Yeah.
so hard to I find it's discouraging as a consumer of art because it's kind of
Yes.
really boring. And it's
Agreed.
also very discouraging as somebody who's trying to make a living as an artist.
Yeah. Okay.
So what does allow you to kind of push through? I'm curious, like this is kind of a bigger question, even like
Mm.
thinking, from starting at 13, like what was that drive to be like, no, I have something to say, like no, there's music I want to share, like I want to get out there. And it's like you've sustained that for 10 years. Like where do you feel like that comes from or where that drive is?
Yeah, well, I think like creative like if you're somebody who likes to make things, like you're just gonna make it regardless of if you get money from it or recognition from it, right? So you're just going to be compelled to keep writing music. And yeah, I don't know, like it just feels like the thing that I enjoy doing.
Yeah, like there's intrinsic motivation, right? As opposed to
Hmm.
extrinsic. And it's like you are getting some of those benefits now from all the hard work, but it's like regardless of that, you would still be making music.
Yeah, exactly. It's like at the end of the day, it is just my favorite hobby.
Yeah. And like you've just always felt comfortable expressing yourself that way. Like that feels like your way to kind of meet the world.
Yeah, like out of all the kind of art practices, which I enjoy visual arts, I enjoy lots of different types of art. It just is the one that comes most naturally to me.
Hmm. Yeah, and you clearly have an aptitude for it.
Oh, thank you.
Well, it's like an aptitude, and then also you've put in the hard work, like to be so good at it, right? At a higher level. Yeah.
Yeah, well, like just when I started taking guitar lessons, I think I was 7. Like my guitar teacher, who's actually plays in Lowest of the Low, Michael
Mm.
Mackenzie, just like part of how he taught kids was like, oh, I'm gonna teach you how to write a song, opposed to I'm gonna teach you music theory and how
Chords.
to like just, shred over some blues song or whatever. So he like the way that I learned how to play an instrument was very like fundamentally like in creating.
Mm.
So I think that I'd like to give him some credit for that too.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's so cool that you learn so young and that it's like almost developed with your personality. Like it feels so like a part of you.
Hmm. Yeah, I feel like, well, that's like a classic thing too of like every child is creative and then like at a certain
Agreed.
point, a lot of people just kind of lose touch with that. But like if you have someone in your life who's like really encouraging you to continue with that, I think everyone would find like the creative outlet that is just like so great for them.
Yeah, I agree. I think like that there's kind of like hope in that and then there's also like sadness in that and that a lot of people like didn't have that, right? And like lost touch with their creative side in that particular way or like the potential, right, of what they might have
Yeah.
found.
Yeah, like I think I'm just really lucky and have like had a very privileged life with a lot of supportive people.
Yeah.
Well, and actually, that's like a beautiful segue because I was going to ask you. So you mentioned your guitar teacher. Are there other like sort of notable people that come to mind that really were instrumental, no pun intended, in supporting your journey thus far?
Yeah, I mean my parents are very supportive. Like my dad is driving us to all of like me and the band to all of our tour shows with Lowest of the
Awesome.
Low. They were always like a rule growing up was that I have to take a music lesson,
Okay,
any instrument I want, but yeah, I
doesn't
have to do
matter.
something like that. It's definitely my parents. There were like a lot of like musicians in Toronto who were just like so kind to me. Like Chris Murphy from Sloan would like he let me like interview him when I was a kid for like a YouTube channel. And then like I'd just see him around and he'd just be so nice to me. So there were like, like local like famous musicians who were just like so supportive.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And I can feel how that kind of like support has helped you find that deeper connection with music and keep it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And even that element of confidence, which we've talked about before. I was kind of thinking the sense of like when you are about to go on to a bigger show for you, like the Danforth Music Hall, and it's like, you're on in 2 minutes or whatever, like what is that process of kind of psyching yourself up to go out? How do you motivate yourself to be like, okay, this is a big deal, but it's also not a big deal. And like, it means something, but it doesn't mean everything. Like, and like, how do you actually do that?
It's funny, like, it depends on the show, but I've found that I actually was feeling more nervous at smaller shows than I felt at like Danforth, which is the biggest show we've ever played. Um,
Mm.
and I mean, like, psyching myself up when I get nervous, I kind of just like dance around, jump around, like get the like kinetic energy out. But for something like Danforth, I feel like I just tried to like remember like, oh my God, I'm playing the Danforth. This is so much fun, and like framing it in that way. Like you said, when we were on stage, we looked like we were having fun, and it actually
As you
just
were.
felt like such a celebration. Yeah, it felt like a celebratory moment and not like a make or break moment because I don't think it was. If we didn't do that good a show, nothing horrible is gonna happen. Like people are maybe just not gonna follow us on Instagram or whatever. But it's not really the end of the world. And it should just be like a moment that is a very exciting personal moment. So yeah, I don't know. I guess that's the kind of stuff I try to tell myself.
Yeah.
So again, if I was going to like connect that to sort of like a psychological perspective or whatever, a therapy perspective, it sounds like you find a way to stay in the present as opposed to projecting yourself into a future that's like uncertain and worrying and oh God, what if this happens or what if that happens or whatever else. The trick seems to
Hmm.
be like in the moment, what are we doing? We're doing it right now. This is the experience of it. And it allows you to maybe connect to just like the visceral experience of playing music, which clearly you love, right? So it's
Yeah.
sort of your head is in the moment, it's not somewhere else. Yeah? Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. And it's interesting because I feel like in my daily life, that's something that I have trouble with. And I am an anxious person and I do worry a lot about what ifs and stuff with like just regular daily life things. But maybe just because I've played so many shows, like I've been able to train my brain in that specific scenario to just stay in the moment.
Yeah.
And like a positive framing, right? In terms of being like, so we often talk about in therapy, like this sense of mobilization of energy, right? So, like, energy can come up and it can feel like anxious or it can actually feel exciting and it can feel like both, right? And sometimes it kind of just depends which one you lean into, right? Like which one you're kind of like framing the experience with, because that huge mobilization of energy, if you are like, oh, my body's telling me I'm excited about something, I'm going to lean into this, or to be like, oh, my body's telling me like, oh God, I something, like I'm going to shut down or I'm going to do something else. But it sounds like you've been able to mobilize it in a way that feels exciting.
Mm-hmm.
And it shows, like, it comes through.
Yeah.
So you just did the Danforth Music Hall, which is amazing. You are signing for a new
Timing.
album, which is amazing also. Yeah. So what are some of your upcoming plans? Either things that you definitely have on the go or like dreams that you want to achieve? What's next for you guys?
So we're gonna finish up the tour with Lowest of the Low, which is done after this weekend that's coming up. And then next kind of big exciting thing is we're gonna play this festival in Calgary. It's called Sled Island. Yeah, so that's fun. I've never been on a plane, so get to go on a plane. And then yeah, just gonna focus on writing some songs because I have to write a whole new album. So
Are you the songwriter exclusively?
yes. Yeah.
Okay. Amazing.
Well, actually,
Hmm.
I do want to ask about that. Like, even just thinking about someone's relationship to their voice, and obviously, I mean it musically for you, but I think for other people, even just like in their life, finding their voice to say the thing they're scared to say or to advocate
Yep.
for themselves. And I think, like, I don't love framing things in terms of gender, but like, especially as a woman in society, like, finding an authentic voice and like finding sometimes fighting to be heard or that kind of thing. And
Taken seriously?
taken seriously, yeah. And it's like you kind of have to take yourself seriously first. So, like that way in which you were able to support your voice to be heard, that's sustained over time.
Sorry, what's the question part of that?
I mean, I guess it's more of a statement.
Yeah.
Um, I guess what difficulties have you found trying to find your voice in the world and society, in music, in your life?
Or has it been challenging?
Yeah.
Maybe it hasn't.
I feel like I used to be a lot more shy about the lyrics that I would write, and I would kind of try to veil things more because I didn't want people to know too much about my personal life. But I think, like I said, it's been over 10 years of me writing songs, so I kind of would continually push the envelope of like what makes me a little bit uncomfortable to sing
Mm.
about. And now I feel like I've finally pushed it to the extent of like, oh, I can say whatever and feel really confident about it. So yeah, like I mean, I feel like I've found my voice. But in general, like I guess a struggle that I've had is just like I was always like a really shy kid and a really introverted kid. So like it did kind of take a lot for me to feel like assertive in the things I wanted to say.
Mm. Yeah, and it sounds like you took kind of like little leaps over
Mhm.
time, and Katie and I often talk about like the importance of actually feeling uncomfortable sometimes. That's often the price you have to pay to grow a little bit.
Of like developing a tolerance for discomfort. Not too
Yeah.
much, not being thrown into the deep end necessarily, but just taking those steps and expanding outward. You get used to a little bit and then it gets easier, and then you go a little bit further, and then that gets easier and a little bit further, and then you're able to expand your experience.
Yeah, totally. Even like I feel like I've gained like a lot of skills just like working part-time jobs and like working retail and stuff and talking to customers because I used to feel so anxious talking to strangers. And I remember my first job at a grocery store, I was like, I need a therapist because
To
this is
navigate
like
this
making
job.
me so panicked. Yeah, like it was just the worst. So yeah, like just throughout life you have to feel uncomfortable and then you learn to that it's actually fine and nothing terrible is going to happen.
Well, and ideally, as you sort of master those little pieces as you go, you become, I think, more autonomous. You feel more independent, more success. Like every little success leads to another one, I think, right? So, I mean,
Mhm.
there is that value, I think, in being able to be a little bit uncomfortable with support so that you can move on and do more and more. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I think it's really important.
Yeah, so it sounds like in that first job you were really like beyond tolerance, right? Like kind of out of your window of tolerance, as we would say as a therapist, right? Like
Yeah.
not regulated in yourself, right? So you were just like, oh my God, I need
Mhm.
help. And now you're just like, yeah, I can talk to a stranger. Like it's not that big of a deal, or like it's not, I've done it so many times that I know it's not going to kill me.
Yeah, and like I get like a tiny feeling of discomfort, sometimes, but it's totally like a push it away, ignore it, you're going to be fine kind of thing. But it used to be really intense.
Yeah, I get that.
So, can I ask, when you think about your music, and prior to this, we were talking about art, and sometimes, you have an experience of the art, but then you listen to the creator, and it's like, whoa, okay, that's not at all what I thought it was, or I had a different experience, whatever. What would you like people to take from your music?
Hmm. I mean, like, well, that's a good question, because, like, I think really what I want people to take from the music is more so like I think of my music as being entertainment and fun, and it's not
Mm.
like, I don't know, like, I don't feel like I'm making anything that is all that deep. It is really just like kind of joyful, I guess. Like, I feel like it's just like a fun concert to go to and a fun album to like rock out to. I don't know. I don't think it's that deep, really.
I honestly, I think that's amazing, though. I think that there's like huge, I don't know. That seems pretty impactful. actually, to be able to go
Yeah.
and just enjoy, like be in the moment and love it and be there and have the experience feels
Hmm.
like a bit of a blessing. That's so cheesy. But anyway, yeah, no, that sounds amazing. I love that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think like that actually is such a huge contribution, like to have it out there, like on a stage, enjoying it, like, you know, feeling like you're in your voice, like you're saying what you want to say, how you want to say it. And it's cool. Like it is. Like
It
it's really,
is,
yeah,
and it cannot be replaced by AI at all, which is always
no.
a nice thing. I think the live experience, as somebody who
Yeah.
loves, like I was a musician for years, that was my first career, and then just as somebody who loves live music, there's nothing like it. I don't think it can be replaced by anything, which is pretty awesome.
That's
No.
super cool. What kind of music did you make?
Well, actually, I was an opera singer. I did
Oh,
that 10 years. So, I mean, you know, a little different, obviously, but live performance is, I can't think of anything more exciting and also full body, right? Like when you're actually there doing
hmm.
it, it's pretty amazing to be doing exactly one thing in that moment of time and nothing else. Just like super in the moment. I remember it, I just felt so alive, alive in a different way than, you know, out in the world where I'm thinking about things and doing other stuff. And the collaboration with other people to create this beautiful experience, and the fact that it's fleeting because you're doing it this one time, there's no editing, it's totally live, it is what it is, you know, and then the audience itself interacts with what you're doing and that changes the experience every time. I mean, you just did the two shows at the Danforth. I
Hmm.
imagine that the Friday night and the Saturday night, like maybe there were similarities obviously, but at the same time, depending on who's in the audience, it's a different experience, right? Like
Yeah.
it's so authentic, I think. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah, I think
totally.
there's something about the structure of music even, right? Like that fact that, you know, it's like it's to a timed beat, right? And it's like
Yep.
sequential and it has a length and it's like I think there's something about that that is so like supportive. Anyway, is there anything we didn't talk about that you want to say? Anything kind of funny? Like what's the worst show you've ever done? Like have you really bombed and how was that?
Or had a terrible audience.
Oh my God, I've played so many shows. We've definitely played shows where there's like almost nobody there. So that sucks. I mean, like, yeah, worst show we've ever played, like, it's not even funny. It's just like some crappy bar and there's a bunch of like old weird perverts at the bar or whatever. But we're on to better things now. I have a few shows like that, whatever.
Yeah, makes you stronger. Oh, well, yeah, and one more
Yeah.
thing, like we're starting to ask our guests, like, you know, our name is Rebel Therapy Podcast, and you know, kind of the framing we have is like kind of against the mainstream like wellness mental health narrative that we find like sometimes really not useful. So
Authentic.
like I mean, it feels kind of like an easy answer for you because you literally are in like a punk band, which I feel like is so rebellious. But where in your life do you feel like you rebel or you feel the most rebellious?
Oh. Well, yeah, back to how I feel like my music is just entertainment and fun, is I feel like it is kind of an active rebellion to be like a girl punk band and for it to be just joyful and about having fun and for it to not actually be about like it doesn't have to be politicized and in a way it
No,
inherently is kind of political because you're just being authentically free and happy.
I
Yeah,
love that. That's amazing. What a good answer.
that's
Thank
amazing.
you.
Yeah. So, do you want to
All
tell
right.
anybody about shows that are coming up or dates or where they can find you or anything else
Or
you want to
online
say?
presence. Like, where do people find you if they want to learn more?
Yeah, but we're most active on our Instagram, which is just Kingdom of Birds, like at Kingdom of Birds. Our next shows coming up are we are playing in Hamilton, opening for Lowest of the Low this Friday, and then playing in Guelph, two shows on the Saturday and Sunday. And then if you're in Toronto, our next show is May 30th at Dina's Tavern. So
Oh,
yeah.
cool. All right. Amazing.
Thank you so much for doing this. We really appreciate
Yeah.
it.
Oh, thanks for having me. It was fun.
Great. All right.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
All
Okay.
right.
Yeah.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
I wanna 1, 2